we'll have some more people hopping in, but as to respect everyone's time and especially respect Ms. Shaw's time in such a busy season for her. Not only is it back to school, but she also just got married and she also is closing on her first house in any time between tomorrow and Saturday.
Yeah, we're just doing it all.
So we will dive in so that you can get back to packing and moving. We're so grateful to have you. We're so grateful to have you. And I think when Bernadette came to us and suggested like potentially Ms. Shaw could help us with our first parent association speaker night, we were like, oh my gosh, yes. And it was a reminder just how lucky we are to have you as part of our community. And we all knew that when you started part-time pre-pandemic, and then the list of needs got longer and longer and longer. And we were so lucky to be able to bring you on full-time, and the needs still got longer and longer and longer. So your hours went to full-time. I think maybe you were already working full-time, even though you were technically part-time. And I know that nothing has slowed down a bit, but we're so grateful for all the ways that you show up. I know that you've touched all of our children and families in different ways. And we're just so lucky and grateful to have you here. I hope I'm not going to embarrass you, but I'm going to read your official bio a little bit.
What's in there?
I'm going to read. So I just pulled it from the school website. But I also know that a lot of people probably don't know some of these like nitty gritty details that a teacher might send out or speak about in curriculum night, or in an opening of the new year newsletter. So we know about Ms. Shaw that she has her Bachelor's of Arts in Psychology from Quest University in Canada. Are you from Canada?
I'm not, but I just wanted to like live abroad. So went to Canada.
Nice. Yeah. Nice. And then Master's of Education in School Counseling from Seattle University. She chose to be a school counselor because she believes every child deserves to have someone in their life supporting them and cheering them on. And it gives her so much meaning to be able to play this small role in a child's life. And I know that I speak for a number of us on this call, some of my friends here who've had the opportunity to have our children interact with Ms. Shaw. And oh my goodness, to have you cheering for our children is such a gift. Mrs. Shaw also loves teaching at St. John because it's a truly unique community. From the teachers to the students to the staff, everyone was so welcoming and genuinely happy to be here from the first day that she stepped on campus, which is what attracted her to St. John from the get-go. She could feel the warmth and the spirit of the community immediately. And that's definitely the warmth and the spirit that we all feel when we are on campus as well. So we can relate. We can relate to all the warm fuzzies that immediately come up when we get on campus together. So tonight we're going to be talking about Second Step and the integration of Second Step curriculum across all grade levels at St. John. So our teacher and admin are delighted to bring this research-based social emotional learning program to our school. And Second Step, for those of you that don't know, provides a holistic approach to building supportive, inclusive, and equitable communities. And I met with Ms. Shaw a few weeks ago, and she just showed me like a little bit of an overview so that I would have a sense of what we were diving into tonight. And I got really excited. So I know that we're all going to learn some really great things in terms of being able to bridge the gap between what's happening at school with Second Step and then how we can apply that at home. Tonight, we're going to touch on the philosophy behind Second Step, how the curriculum is applied school-wide, how Second Step is created to support K-8 developmental levels in order to grow with our students over the course of their 9 years at St. John. And then we'll talk about how to bridge Second Step between home and school so that we can all have common language and practices to support our children's emotional development. And when you mentioned in our conversation this idea around common language, I was like, oh my goodness, that would be so great if I knew what was being talked about in the classroom and could really piggyback on that at home. So with all that, I'm going to let you take the mic, Chloe, and dive on in.
Great. Thank you, Sarah. What a nice introduction. Wow. Well, I'm so happy to be here to get to talk to you guys. And yeah, I just want to reiterate how much I truly love this school. It's a really incredible space to be working in and to be working with all of the wonderful families and students. It makes the job that can be hard on some days really, truly worth it. So just wanted to say a quick thank you. All right, so I'm going to share my screen so we can jump right into our presentation. So we are going to be talking about social emotional learning at St. John. And I prepared a little kind of agenda. Oops. There we go. So we're going to be touching on three main things today. I wanted to make sure that we all kind of have the same understanding of what social emotional learning, or SEL, is. So we're going to touch on that and then really look at why it matters, the value of teaching SEL in school. We'll look at the research. And then we'll move into talking about Second Step, the program that we use at St. John, and you'll get to learn all about what your child is learning. We're going to do a deep dive into the lessons. And then lastly, we'll talk a little bit about what you can do to support what your child is learning at home. So with that said, I want to just dive on into social emotional learning. This is a term that you've probably heard at some point in your life. It's gained a lot of traction in the last 10 years or so, I would say. But basically, SEL helps people understand and manage their emotions, set and achieve positive goals, have and show empathy for others, establish and maintain positive relationships, and make responsible decisions. So really important things. And if you turn your attention to the little diagram on the right of the screen, this is a diagram made by CASEL, which is the organization that really has gotten a lot of traction for SEL. So CASEL is the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning. And they propose that there's kind of 5 key competencies for SEL. So we'll start with the self-management. So that's just being able to regulate your own emotions and feelings and thoughts and take care of those in a productive way. Self-awareness really has to do with understanding yourself. So how am I feeling in this moment? What do I need? Responsible decision-making, that's pretty straightforward, but making safe and responsible choices. Relationship skills, this has to do with being able to build relationships, get along with others, grow friendships, stuff like that. And then social awareness, this is really where empathy comes into play. So understanding other people's feelings and what they need. So I wouldn't be a counselor if I didn't have us do just a little kind of reflection activity. So what we're going to do is I just want you to think about those 5 skills and your day so far. So let's go all the way back to the start of your day and maybe the first thing this morning, and look at these 5 skills. Can you think of any situations that arose today where you needed these 5 skills or competencies in your day? So maybe, how did your family's morning routine go this morning? Or were you stuck in traffic this afternoon? Or maybe you're in a difficult meeting at work. So you use these skills all throughout the day. I know that I can say I do as a counselor. In my job, I use these skills. And I also use them outside of my life, just in my adult life, right? So I think it's really important. And I wanted to just kind of do that exercise just because in order for us to really understand what our children are learning, it also just helps us think about that we are also practicing these very same skills that they're in the process of learning. And I think just kind of bridging the gap between that is valuable. So, all right, with that said, I have a short little video that talks a bit more about SEL and why it's so important. So we're going to watch that. It's about 2 minutes.
There's a lot of talk these days about SEL, social emotional learning. But what exactly is it? Social emotional learning is the process of learning social and emotional skills, and it's just as important as learning reading or math. This learning process is most effective when it begins early and continues through high school. Social emotional skills are essential for success in school, work, and life. With SEL, students learn to manage their own emotions and behaviors, have empathy and show care and concern for others, solve problems effectively, make responsible decisions, and maintain healthy relationships. Students learn to recognize what's happening inside them and to be aware of their emotions, which helps them deal with strong emotions and impulsive behaviors. It helps them stop, take a breath, and think about a situation before acting. Students learn to identify others' emotions and perspectives, which helps them empathize and show compassion, no matter who they are or what their background is. It's not difficult to imagine how this is important in the classroom and in life. Students learn to solve problems in peaceful ways and communicate assertively about what they need or want. This helps them get along with other students and get the help they need from adults. When students learn to make responsible decisions about their lives and their future, things can turn out better. Research shows social emotional learning makes a difference. Students who participate in SEL do better academically, have improved attitudes and behaviors, and act in delinquent or disruptive ways less often. In the United States, students with strong social emotional competence are twice as likely to earn a college degree and nearly 50% more likely to graduate from high school and have a full-time job by age 25. Just as important, students who are socially and emotionally competent have more friends. This means they're more likely to feel connected to school and do well, and less likely to be left out or bullied. Simply put, by participating in social emotional learning, students learn the skills to succeed in every facet of school and the rest of their lives.
Okay, so sorry if you hear my fan right now. My computer is just working so hard on that video. All right, so as the video kind of touched on, there's been a lot of recent research on the benefits of SEL. And so I just wanted to touch on those a bit more because it's pretty incredible. So research has shown that when students are engaged in an evidence-based SEL program, they experience, okay, obviously social emotional gains in their skills, but they also have improved attitudes about themselves, others, and towards school. We also see an increase in pro-social classroom behavior. So those are behaviors that help you be like an active learner and really get the most from your time in the classroom as a learner. And then finally, an 11 percentile point gain in overall academic achievement, which is pretty remarkable just from social emotional learning that you see such a high increase in academics. And then we also see a reduced risk of conduct issues and emotional distress. So it's super powerful. And I also just wanted to touch on, there was this meta-analysis in 2017 that looked at kind of the long-term or lasting effects of SEL. And the study found that SEL interventions were associated with really long-term impacts, months or even years after the SEL lessons and exposure. Students still had increased levels of those academic success and gains. So huge case for SEL in the school. And I want to just touch on one more little tidbit and value of SEL. Clearly, I could go on and on as a counselor about how important this is, but I wanted to think about, so we're thinking about obviously how SEL helps children in school, but I just wanted to think about like how later in life, how it can be so powerful. So there were 10 skills identified by the World Economic Forum that had to do with success in the workplace. And if we take a look at these 10 skills, there's a lot of crossover really between those skills and the social emotional skills and competencies that we talked about at the start. So complex problem solving, critical thinking, creativity, people management, coordinating with others, emotional intelligence, judgment and decision-making, service orientation, negotiation, cognitive flexibility. So these are skills that help adults be successful in the workplace. And these are skills that we're teaching our students in our SEL program. So I think with all that said, there's a really clear case for SEL in the school. And so with that, we're gonna kind of dive into talking about the SEL program that St. John is using. So the program that we're using is called Second Step, and it's a research-based program made for kindergarten all the way through 8th grade. It's actually, there's even a preschool program, but I'm not going to be talking about that today. It's a little bit different. So we are using the K through 8th program, and it was developed by Committee for Children, which is a nonprofit actually based right here in Seattle. They have like a decades-long track record that's super strong. They actually use this program in over 30,000 schools and 7 countries. So it's really well known, well respected, and used throughout the world. And even just in the local archdiocese level, we were talking in our faculty meeting just on Monday this week, we were looking at all the different curriculums that are used, like for all the subjects. We were talking about ELA and science and math, but we were also looking at SEL and the programs that all the Catholic schools use. And the vast majority are using Second Step now. So it's really been adopted more and more here in the Catholic school system, which has been really awesome to see. So the lessons themselves are taught weekly by the classroom teacher. In K through 5th grade, there's 20 lessons. And then in middle school, there's actually 25. There's kind of some bonus lessons. And the teaching time is about 20 to 30 minutes. So it's on the older end for our older kiddos. And the lesson format includes songs and videos, handouts, discussions, brain builders, which you should ask your kids about. They absolutely love these little like brain challenges to start the lessons. And then there's also daily practice activities. So the lessons are designed to be taught on Monday, so that we can do the extension activities throughout the week. So they'll learn a lesson on Monday and then discuss it in their morning meeting on Tuesday and, follow up on Wednesday and Thursday and Friday. So they're really meant to kind of follow an entire week worth of learning. Okay, so now we're gonna kind of dive into the skills and concepts that are taught in this awesome program. So I want to first start with the elementary skills and concepts. So there's 4 units and they're pretty sequential, so they grow on each other. So unit 1 is about growth mindset and goal setting. Unit 2 is on emotion management. Unit 3 is about empathy and kindness. And unit 4 is problem solving. These are fantastic lessons that I piloted last year. I didn't get to pilot all the lessons, but I did go into all the classrooms and teach a variety of the lessons. And we really liked it. So we ended up adopting it full-time this year. In middle school, there's also 4 units, but they're a little bit different. So unit 1 is also on mindsets and goals. Unit 2, though, is on recognizing bullying and harassment, which is really important in middle school. Unit 3 is about thoughts, emotions, and decisions. And then lastly, unit 4 is managing relationships and social conflict. So we're going to kind of dive in. I don't know exactly, I feel like it's a lot of elementary school families here tonight, but I wanted to be sure to touch on middle school as well. So we're going to begin by diving into the elementary school lessons, and we'll kind of really take a look at the scope and sequence of each of the units. And then we'll do the same for middle school. So I just need a sip of tea. I've been talking a lot today, everybody. All right, thanks. So in unit 1, like I said, this unit focuses on growth mindset and goal setting. So students are learning in this unit how to pay attention, how to manage distractions, how to develop a growth mindset and what that is. And they're also learning about applying a goal setting strategies in their social and also in their academic life. So what this looks like is really in kindergarten and 1st grade, it's a lot of work on learning about how to pay attention, which is such an important skill that really needs to be taught and like explicitly taught. And so they spend a lot of time learning about why we should pay attention and how to manage distractions when we're feeling distracted. In grades 2 and 3, this is where they really work on the growth mindset. So they're learning about what a growth mindset is. They also get to learn about the brain. They really enjoyed that this last month. And then in 4th and 5th grade, they start to learn about goal setting. So making a plan, checking in on the plan, reflecting, that kind of stuff. So that's unit 1 in elementary. So let's take a look at unit 2. So this one is on emotion management. This is like the bread and butter of my work. So in this unit, students are learning to identify and label both their own emotions and emotions in other people. They also are using emotion management strategies to learn how to calm their strong feelings. And this includes a stress management plan for older students. So really in kindergarten all the way to, like, I would say 3rd grade, it's a deep dive into feelings. Like, they're learning about the range of emotions that we can have, from happy and proud and calm to angry, frustrated, mad, worried, things like that. They begin to learn some ways to regulate their feelings, but really in 4th and 5th grade, they learn some pretty concrete strategies. In 4th grade, these were some of my favorite lessons that I piloted last year. So if you have a 4th grader, you should ask your child about this. In 4th grade, they learned this great strategy called rethinking. And it's a really great cognitive behavioral strategy to help with when you're having a tough moment and how you can look for something positive in it. And then in 5th grade, they start to take the look at stress and how you can plan for stress and how you can take care of stress, which is really great and kind of sets the foundation nicely for middle school, because there's a little bit of stress in middle school. So that is unit 2 in elementary. Unit 3 is also wonderful. It's on empathy and kindness. So in this unit, students learn how to recognize kindness and how to do kind acts for others. We also learn all about what empathy is and perspective taking. They also learn that kind acts and empathy are important in building and maintaining friendships and relationships with others. So they really start to see the value and how that's so important. So in really kindergarten through 2nd grade, it's all about how can we be kind? What can we do? Really concrete examples of kindness. They also really start to understand about what empathy is. There's wonderful lessons in 2nd grade on empathy. 3rd grade, they continue this work on looking at how to be kind. And then in 4th grade, they really start to learn about perspective taking and why that is so important and how that helps you be empathetic towards other people. You really have to put yourself in someone else's shoes to know how to help them. And then lastly, 5th grade is awesome. I love these lessons too. They take empathy outside of the classroom into the community and look for problems and how they can have empathy and how they can have solutions to solve community problems. I did that last year with our 5th graders, and it was really fun to see their ideas. So, okay, last unit in elementary is problem solving. This is super important in elementary school, you understand, I'm sure. So in this unit, students learn how to identify and state a problem, which is so important. Being able to say a problem without blame language is kind of the foundation to being able to be a problem solver. So they learn about that. They learn to think about and recognize if a problem is an accident. So if your friend just accidentally did something, or if it was on purpose, we think about that. And then we also learn about the STEP problem solving strategy. So that's an acronym, STEP, and it has 4 parts that we teach them to follow. So the first part is saying the problem that you and your friend are having. And they're really encouraged to not use blame words, to really try to have as neutral language as possible when they're stating the problem. The next part is thinking of solutions to your problem. So you brainstorm all the ways you could solve this problem with your friend. And then for E, they explore the outcomes. So what would happen if we choose this solution? What happens if we choose this one? And then that helps them with P, pick a solution, pick the best one that they both like. So, and what this looks like is in K through 2nd grade, it's really a lot of work on how to say the problem, how to know if it was an accident, simple ways to solve the problem, like taking turns, asking for what you need. That's so important. Just communicating what you need when you're feeling upset and have a problem. And then in 3rd through 5th grade, they really learn about that STEP problem solving strategy that I was talking about. So they really break it down, like each lesson is one part of the STEP problem solving strategy. So that is the elementary second step program in a nutshell. It's a lot of information coming at you, but I wanted to kind of show how the program is really sequential and really grows with the students. So what they're learning in kindergarten really sets the foundation for what they learn in first grade and then on to second grade. And so you can see like what they're learning in fifth grade, it really helped all the steps back in, the previous grades and lessons. So with that in mind, we're going to move along to the middle school units. These are awesome. And we have two fantastic teachers who teach second step in middle school. So to start, unit 1 is on mindsets and goals. In this unit, students are learning how to grow their brains and get smarter. And they're also learning strategies for setting and achieving goals and handling difficult situations. And I want to draw your attention also to lesson 0. So there's a bonus lesson in there for our 6th graders, all about the transition to middle school. And this is just a really great place to start because it is a lot of changes and transitions. So there's just a little extra work in there for our 6th graders on navigating that. But then afterwards, we all are learning about the brain. They did a lot of really cool work reading about their adolescent brain and how it changes in middle school. So they're working on that in the 6th and 7th grade lessons. And then in 8th grade, there's a lot of self-reflection in this unit. So they're looking at their identities, their interests, strengths, and how to harness those into the future. So some really great work there. The 8th graders that I did that with last year really enjoyed the personal reflection component that had. So unit 2 in middle school, like I said, is super important. Recognizing bullying and harassment is unfortunately something that we all really need to understand. And so in this unit, students learn about what bullying is and isn't. That term gets thrown around a lot. So it's really important that we have that common language and understanding about what bullying really is. They also learn about ways to stand up safely to bullying if they see bullying, and how to respond appropriately to harassment. And so in these lessons, the teachers also take the time to go over the mission statement and our school code of conduct with our students too, because we really want to help them think about, so obviously how they're acting at school, but with online, how they're acting and how they're representing the school to the outside world. So we do a lot of work on that in middle school beyond just these lessons here on recognizing bullying and how to stand up to bullying. There's kind of some extension work that happens there in middle school. Let's see. Unit 3 is our thoughts, emotions, and decisions. So in this unit, students learn about the positive role that emotions play in our lives, how to handle unhelpful thoughts and uncomfortable or strong emotions, and how to apply strategies to manage their emotions and reduce stress. So this is really important. We continue that work that we started in K-5 and really think about, why do we have emotions? Why do they matter? What do they tell us? And then strategies for how to handle those uncomfortable emotions and unhelpful thoughts. I really like the lesson on practicing positive self-talk in 7th grade. It's a really powerful lesson. And then in 8th grade, there's a lot of work around understanding stress and anxiety and how to cope with it. And they even create, their last lesson, they create an individualized stress management plan for themselves. So there's some really good work there. Last unit in middle school. So this is on managing social relationships and social conflict. So in this unit, students are learning strategies for developing and maintaining healthy relationships. They're learning perspective-taking skills, strategies for dealing with conflict. And if you put yourself back into, your middle school experience that you had, I think this is really important, right? There's a lot of changes that go on in like the social hierarchy in middle school, and there's just friendship dynamic changes. So I think it is really important to spend a lot of time talking about changes and how to handle conflicts or multiple perspectives, taking responsibility for your actions when you've been involved in a conflict and really owning that. So this unit is really helpful there. And then the 8th graders even start to talk about healthy and unhealthy relationships and high school challenges to prepare them for going off to high school. So that is the last unit. So you've just had a lot of information thrown at you about what we are teaching the students. But I wanted to talk a bit about how you can support all of this really important learning at home. And I first just wanted to say, so just kind of where we are so far, we're wrapping up unit 1. So we've just now finished in K through 8th grade, the mindsets and the goal setting. So we'll be getting into the bullying stuff in middle school, and we'll be getting into the emotion management in elementary school. With that in mind, here's some ways that you can help support this learning. So I think obviously just trying your best to follow along throughout the year as we go through these units is really helpful. Your teacher or your student's teacher should be including like a little information about each lesson in the newsletter. So reading that and asking your child to tell you, hey, what did you learn? In second step this week is a great, opener. You should also receive kind of regular, like every couple months, a little one pager about the unit that your child is learning about in second step. And that is a really helpful little handout that has just some of the language that they're learning, the skills and questions that you can ask and ways you can reinforce that learning at home. If you haven't gotten that, you can email me or your child's teacher and we can get that to you. And then of course, just, reaching out to your child's teacher or myself, if you ever need any extra resources or you have questions, there's like fantastic resources I can share with you. I could go on and on, but book lists or programs or any like ideas to help support this, I'm always all ears and happy to answer questions. So I wanted to keep it brief. Like those are the main ways you can support this learning at home, is just try to be as engaged as you can and, ask your kiddo, try to get out of them at least. What are you learning in school? I know that's not always the easiest question. But yeah, with that in mind, I want to say thank you everybody so much for being here and making time for this. And I'm happy to take questions. Now, how are we doing? Oh yeah, we totally got time for questions.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that was so helpful. The level of detail when you walked through the curriculum was so helpful. And it also made like the integration across the school is really awesome to see as it progresses from year to year. And I also was like, oh yeah, I should ask about that. Like, it's not just about like, how was math today or how was English language arts? Like this is it's a significant part of the curriculum and something that we can be asking about on a regular basis. Not just necessarily waiting to get information in the newsletter, which is also very helpful, but getting our kids' input on what they're learning, I think is really valuable.
Yeah.
We have the chat open so people can go ahead and put questions in the chat. If you have something you want to ask anonymously, you can send a message to Alan or I, and we will ask the question for you. To kick us off, I have a question. Can you talk a little bit about how Second Step aligns and upholds the school mission?
That's a great question. Yeah. And actually, I hope most of you have heard at this point, but we do have a new mission statement, changed it a little bit, but it's still got the same kind of spirit that our old one did. And I really think some of the common threads between our school's mission and what Second Step is trying to do is really help develop empathetic people who care about others and want to act for the common good. So I really see like the lessons that we're doing around empathy and perspective taking being so important in like laying the foundation for helping our students with like trying to understand, other people's perspectives and points of view and people that are different from ourselves, right? So I think I think those units actually align really nicely with our mission statement. And even like the problem solving, like how do we might see things differently from other people, and that's fine, but how can we peacefully, get along and communicate with one another, regardless of having, different ideas or perspectives. Those are things that I think Bernadette could vouch for. We work on a daily basis with our students on. So yeah, that's a great question, Sarah.
I could see when you shared the list of 10 outcome, like long-term outcomes from Second Step, I thought that list was incredible. And I also saw so much overlap in the goal of the mission and like the goal of the kind of student and citizen and learner we're trying to cultivate and build. And then like, we're working toward those kinds of outcomes for the students at St. John. And that really comes across in the mission statement and is so clearly shown up in the curriculum here as well, which is really great.
Yeah, that's a great connection. Yeah.
Carrie has a question in the chat about how long Second Step has been in place at St. John. I think you touched on piloting it. How long has it been since the beginning?
Well, so actually it's there's kind of 2 iterations of Second Step. The original program was a little dated, but it was good. There was value in it. But I think it was like released like 15 years ago. Does that sound right? It was pretty old. And we had used that like previous to me working at St. John. The previous counselors and teachers were using the old Second Step program, but people didn't love it so much. So we were kind of, for our SEL like lessons, teachers were kind of pulling from different resources. But fortunately, Second Step totally revamped their program in 2020 and created this new program that's mostly digital. It's really easy to teach. It's got really great videos and super engaging to the students. So I kind of piloted it last year to see like, how did the students respond? Did the teachers see value in it? And we loved it. We thought it was really impactful and we really, really liked it. So after that, we decided like, let's go for it. So we bought a nice few-year license. So we're going all in. Yeah, that's a great question.
I know that since we started in kindergarten, which was now 4 years ago, growth mindset, it was probably called Second Step, but I didn't know that's what it was called. But like the work on growth mindset that's been part of the ongoing curriculum was part of the Second Step curriculum at that time.
Yeah, it probably was. And your kiddos might have told you about Kelso's choices too.
Yes.
We use that in like particularly kindergarten. I teach that, and it's just a really simple curriculum that teaches problem solving skills. So we are still using that because it does have really nice concrete steps for the littles to follow on just choices that they can do when they have a problem. But Second Step is a lot more just comprehensive, as you could see in the presentation. Yeah, goes beyond that.
Question. Great to know how we can support this learning at home, but looking at your deck, you have so much on your plate. Is there anything we can do to support you?
Oh, that is so nice. See, these are the lovely parents that make this.
This is the warm and welcoming. This is just reinforcing that you're at the right place.
Yeah, it really is. Oh my gosh. No, I really love getting to help teach these lessons. I loved teaching them last year and this year. Now that we're doing it in the entire school, all the lessons, I just don't have the time to do it. So I took a step back and kind of am overseeing all the lessons. The teachers are doing it themselves, which in many ways is great because then the teachers like fully understand like what's being taught, and have that language. But yeah, I'm just hanging in there. Thank you, kind parents.
If that changes, let us know. We want you to keep hanging in there for a really long time. So,
I will. I promise.
I'm curious, so as you were going through the curriculum, I was thinking like, this is all fantastic. And if I tried to do what you do at school, I would probably just get a lot of eye rolls at home and resistance. And maybe not a whole lot of joy. And I'm curious how the kids, what the reception is to this content when it's in the context of the classroom versus my
Yeah.
house and I'm trying to parent it.
That's a really good question, Sarah. So like in terms of the buy-in,
Yeah.
and I was curious about that last year when I was like piloting the lessons. And I really do have to say, like, they did a really nice job with making, there's like videos where they interview real kids, and it doesn't feel like these corny videos where there's like these actors, like they really went into schools and interviewed kids about like all sorts of different topics. So from my experience, I feel like there is good buy-in. Like the little kids, I would say K-3 love it. Like they would get so excited when I would come in and teach it. And I've heard too, like so far this year from, I think every single teacher that they've like been really impressed with the engagement level, and they've really liked the, like having the common language. In third grade, I know Mrs. Treywick's class has been learning all about the brain. And she said, like, that's been super powerful with like when someone is kind of hitting like a sticky spot and they're learning to like go back to like, remember, like, this is the job of your brain. And they had all this nice language for that. So I think the buy-in is okay, but maybe if you were the parent teaching this, yeah, that might not go always the best. That's the nice thing about being the teacher and the counselor, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Along those lines, are there any specific tactics? You talked about the STEP method or the acronym. Are there any specific methods that you could offer around using second step protocols for something like problem solving or problem solving or conflict resolution at home?
Yeah, I think definitely if you can apply that strategy at home, and there's a little poster when your child, unfortunately, it's kind of a bummer that unit 4, you know, obviously it's the last one that's taught, is on problem solving. And so they don't learn that strategy until a little bit later in the year, but it's like, it's all so important. So like, what order do you teach it in?
Right.
So they'll be learning that, gosh, probably like around December, January. Once they have learned that language for solving a problem and that strategy, I think using that at home is a great idea. So if you're having like a play date and you're overhearing a conflict, reminding them like, hey, you can solve the problem this way, you know, and modeling it and helping them through, that's great. Let's see, in terms of the emotion, I'm trying to think of if there's a specific strategy. There's a little song that's coming to mind where it goes like, stop, name your feeling, calm down, something like that. So those are kind of some steps that they try to teach the kids. So you first just stop and pause. You try to name your feeling, like, how do I feel right now? And then use a calm down strategy. And they're pretty simple, the calm down strategies that they teach them. It's like, take a break, walk away. I think the other one is get an adult. I think that's the other strategy. So those are a couple of things that you can help reinforce. And those will go out in the teacher newsletters as well. So you don't have to remember all that right now.
Those simple strategies need a lot of reminders.
Yeah, they do, don't they?
So, I mean, well, it's as adults, it's easy to say like these simple little things, but like for little brains, and as a parent of a fourth grader, I'm like, how many times do we have to say like, at a certain point, you go get an adult? That's the strategy.
Yeah. It's one thing to know it intellectually, and it's another thing for a kid to actually remember and use that strategy in the moment, right?
Yeah.
And that's where it just takes so much reinforcing. Yeah, I totally empathize.
I see Mrs. Manfield's comment here about the new second step is much improved. So that's awesome. Really great. A fantastic curriculum directly connected to the mission and purpose. Yeah, I didn't expect to see like so much overlap. I figured that there would be a little, you know, some connection or a bridge, but like there's just a ton of overlap with the school mission, which is really cool.
Yeah.
We have a question from Jamie. Do you ask for student feedback through this process, especially with intermediate and middle school kids?
That's a great question. In terms of like how they're liking it, I'm assuming, and like if the lessons are resonating with them. Is that what Jamie's asking?
Do you want to specify, Jamie, if you mean, and feel free to unmute if you want.
Yeah, I'm actually watching this with my daughter, Kate, and she really appreciated seeing what was coming. I thought that was kind of cool for her to help make those connections. But I was asking her about the lessons or the videos and stuff, and she had some opinions. So I was just curious about whether you were getting feedback from the kids. You probably did last year when you piloted it, but this year it's fully rolled out. So
no,
anyway.
that's a really good reminder. Yeah. Thank you, Jamie. Since this is kind of the first year where it's like getting fully rolled out, I definitely think we're kind of doing like some checkpoints throughout the year where I check in with the teachers on how it's going. And I think I definitely will be sure to add a question where they can get some student feedback. Yeah, it's a great idea.
I love that there's a student watching too.
Yeah.
Gold star for students coming to parent education
on
night.
a Wednesday night.
I know. Any other questions or comments, feedback?
Well, can I just ask Kate what she thinks of it?
Yes, go ahead. I think it's an interesting being on a fifth grader. She's at that tipping point of what's too young, what's that transition. So I think she was just commenting.
Just tell all of us she can come by and tell Miss Shaw tomorrow, or come and tell me.
Yeah.
She did say that she really, and I don't want to, you have so much on your plate, but she actually said she loved having you, Miss Shaw, do some of the like whether it was last year or whatever, doing some of these classes. And so I think it's great that the homeroom teacher's doing it. It certainly is good for the connection with the kids and takes some off your plate. But I wonder if there'd be opportunities for certain lessons for you to actually come in and not, again, you have so much going on, but I think Kate was asking about that too.
I would love that. I missed that so much, Kate. It was really fun getting to come in. I got to go into every class last year and teach 10 lessons. And it was actually like the highlight of my year. I loved it. So we will have to figure out a way. Maybe I can do like a guest appearance like once or twice out of the 20 lessons. But until we can figure out how to clone me, I don't think I can be in all those places at once.
Yeah. We did just get your commitment to a guest appearance on recording here. So.
No, I really did love that. Thank you for that feedback, you guys.
Any other questions? All right. So we will go ahead and wrap up. Oh my gosh, thank you so much for all of this, Misha. I feel like when we get this connection to our school curriculum, it's a treat. And it also like, it gets us excited about our kids learning, but it also gives us this like inside bird's eye view. Like we get to be a spy into their textbooks, which is really, really helpful. Let's see. We have a question. Do you ever touch on the history or I think that means the history of the program itself?
I touched on it a little bit at the start. So second step is it's developed by the Committee for Children, which is a nonprofit here in Seattle. They've been around for, gosh, like at least 20 years. They've been developing social emotional learning curriculum. The second step program is like at least 15 years old, but this new program that we are using was released within the last 2 years. So that's kind of as much as I know about the program. It's really widely used. I don't know if you heard that part. It's used in 30,000 schools actually in 7 countries.
7 countries. Yeah, that part was impressive to me.
Yeah. And, another really cool feature about the program itself, I didn't mention, but it's available in like, gosh, what was it? Like 10 languages.
Oh, wow.
So if we have, students that like would benefit from the lesson in another language, or even for parent and family communications, all the letters have been like translated into these different languages. So that's kind of a cool part that makes it a little more inclusive to people and backgrounds. Yeah. I hope that answers your question.
A little bit on the history when at St. John. When I first came to St. John, I think within the first 2 years, there was a parent who was involved with the Committee for Children. And we actually got the program for free that time. And we actually attended, some of us attended the committee's meetings. We attended meetings with members of the Committee for Children as the program became more and more developed. And I also think it had another component, the steps to respect, but they've kept the second step and sort of began updating it throughout the years until we really got this one. Then we in 2020, and we decided, Chloe and I, in chatting, that we would go back and put that new program throughout the school. So she began piloting it, and that's when we decided we're going K through 8 school-wide.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh,
Thank you. Yes.
Sorry, this is Melissa. I was trying to type on my phone in the question box, but I thought I'd just ask a quick question. I think this is amazing, and I've been scribbling some notes, but I am wondering, my daughter loves you, Miss Shaw, by the way, as you probably know, and but I still find it tricky to get any feedback on what happened in your school today. And we used a lot of your prodding questions that you gave us in first grade, and sometimes we get some information, and sometimes I think the day just seems so long ago by the time we get her home that she's forgotten. Long story short, question is, can we get a printout of those units? Because seeing what you wrote on that PowerPoint about the units, the specific units, and then the lessons, how they were broken down, can we get a printout of that, or just a link of that for me to print out at home, just because that might help me like prompt questions at home to ask her what she's learning and questions that she might have, and kind of explore it a bit more?
Yeah, that's a great idea. I'll send a couple resources to Sarah and Alan, and maybe they can include it in like I don't know, you guys post this somewhere, right?
Yep. So that's a great idea. Thank you, Melissa. And thank you, Ms. Shaw, for being willing to do that. What we'll do is we'll post with the recording on the Parent Association page, ? Alan. we can post resources with the record. I know we can post resources with the recording. I just don't quite, if you go to the Parent Association page, that's where all the recordings go, right, Alan?
Yes.
Okay.
Chloe, are you still posting?
Posting
to your portion of the website?
Yeah, I am. Oh, I could put stuff there too. Yeah.
I think more people just need to be aware of it. So we should put a link directly.
Okay.
On our parent
If you want to
association.
put it on your site, then we can just link to your site on our notes. Does that make sense, Alan? Is that the best route?
Yeah. Well, there's no problem posting it twice, but I think that more people should just be aware that Chloe has an amazing site.
Hey, well, and that's a good excuse for me to revamp it a little bit. So,
while you're moving this weekend, could you just update your website, your St. John webpage?
Yeah, let me just quickly add. No, that's easy to do. The great thing about Second Step is it's so organized to find all the resources. So I just need to pull a couple things and upload them onto the site. It won't be hard at all. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. And then also, Melissa, if the first grade teachers are forgetting to send the little monthly recap, it's like a 1-pager it's really lovely, just language, very clear for parents about what your child is learning in each unit. It's like an overview. Just shoot them an email, or you can send me an email and I can get that to you.
Perfect. That's wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you so much, Ms. Shaw, for being here. Thank you, Ms. O'Leary, for being here. Have a great night. And we'll do it again soon.
Yeah.
Good
Thanks,
night,
you guys.
everyone.
Thank you, everybody.